Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Megan Lamke. Thanks for being on the show, Megan.
Thanks so much for having me, Whitney.
Yeah, honored to have you on the show. I personally know that Megan has some skills that we are looking forward to getting into today that I know you as a listener is going to benefit from. But a little bit about her. Working full-time, Megan began house hacking her primary residence while also convincing her tenants. Listen to this. She convinced her tenants to help her implement the BRRRR strategy. Now, that's unique. I don't think I've heard of anyone else doing that, Megan. But she had the opportunity to sell that primary residence and use the profits to passively invest in multifamily syndications to replace her corporate salary. Congratulations, by the way. That's incredible. Today, Megan and her husband, pronounce your husband's name for me.
Derek.
Okay. Easier than I thought. They have a rapidly growing portfolio of over 2,225 units valued at over $461 million. They both work from home and have the time freedom and financial freedom to spend quality time with their 3-year-old daughter. I mean, that's why we do this, right? It's amazing. When they're not on a mission to impact 1 million investors or rescue 1 million children from sex trafficking in Southeast Asia, the Lamkes love sailing, playing rugby, visiting national parks, and volunteering at church. Megan, welcome to the show. I love your story, and what your family's about, and I think we have a lot in common there as well. But give us a little more. Give us a few details about this story of getting your tenants to help you with the BRRRR strategy. That's pretty unique right there. And then let's jump into a few more things about your background.
So my husband and I played rugby, and that's how we met. And our tenants were actually our rugby teammates and some of our best friends and family members. And so we convinced them to help us renovate this house because we all needed a really cheap place to live while we were traveling all over the world playing a sport that we love. And so it was really easy to motivate them with pizza and beer and, a affordable place to live.
Wow. Just buy some pizza and beer, and now you got a remodeled house. That's pretty incredible, right?
Well, anyone who knows the rugby community knows that it's a really tight-knit community of people who would run through a brick wall, literally for you, because sometimes that's what scrums look like.
So you all decided to sell this house, though, and that gave you the capital to invest to replace your income. Can you dive into that just a little bit?
Yeah. So we ran the numbers, and when we got to this point of being debt-free, including our mortgage, we said, well, now what do we do? Do we go buy another single family home? Do we buy a duplex? Do we keep doing the BRRRR strategy? Do we, cash it all in and go for syndications and hopefully just as a passive investor that will replace my salary? And we ran the numbers on everything, and the way that it would work with putting 25% down on a non-owner occupied property, we chose syndications and quickly learned that that was the fastest path to mathematically replacing my income without me taking on another full-time job of managing real estate investments. So that was the fastest path for us. And then continued to passively invest and then offer my corporate marketing and sales background to general partners and syndications as a way to add value and help their capital raising process go smoother.
Nice. Well, I want to get into that because I think you have some great skills there. But I also wanted to ask you, maybe you could highlight a little bit. I know you're big on impact investing, business for good. And you all are you said 1 million children, right? Or a million investors, but 1 million helping rescue 1 million children from sex trafficking in Southeast Asia. How are you all doing that? Well, let's explain a little bit of that, and then I want to get into some of your just marketing automation expertise.
Yeah. So what we've decided is that as a couple, we want to live beneath our means so that we can be used to be a blessing to others. One of the ways that we do that in every syndication is we take a portion of the income that we earn that hits our checkbook and put it in a donor advised fund. And that money can be given towards nonprofit organizations all throughout the years. So one of the nonprofit organizations that we work with is venture.org, and they rescue children in Southeast Asia, in some of the least reached, least resourced places on planet Earth. And we've partnered with them to provide mental health resources, safety, stability, and my favorite, entrepreneurship resources, where we're taking women and children who were once slaves and trafficked and giving them the skills to be virtual assistants or micro farmers, or going to school and getting a degree so they can make an influence their communities. And so the part that's been really fun is training up these entrepreneurs and then hiring them as our virtual assistants in our business. So that's just one example of what we're doing to try and make a difference on a daily basis.
Nice. So what's a donor advised fund? I've heard of that. And I think a lot of the listeners are probably thinking, now, what kind of fund is that?
Yeah, a donor advised fund is basically you work with your legal team, you work with your financial planner, and you set up a specific account, you set up a specific set of paperwork that allows you to put money into this account that it's all going to be donated. So 100% of the money in there is going to be donated to nonprofit organizations. And you can choose to do that in certain time limits, or you can choose to do it all at once. But it's a really great way to get the maximum tax benefit from putting money into an account like that in a certain calendar year, and then choosing to stretch that out over a longer period of time. But I'm not a tax advisor or financial
Of course.
So go talk to your professional.
Yeah, so now that's something I definitely will look into a little more myself as well. But I want to jump in now to just your background a little bit in marketing automation and how you're specifically doing that in the capital raising side of our business. I mean, if you're a syndicator, if you're an operator, obviously investors are the lifeblood of your business. And, we talk about it often on the show, but I know Megan has some tricks up her sleeve that maybe we've not heard of before. And so looking forward to this. Get us started a little bit with the marketing automation side on capital raising, Megan.
Yeah. So marketing automation, for people that don't know, it's all of the systems and processes and customer journey that happens behind the scenes. So all of the nudges that you're encouraging your prospects and customers to engage with your brand as you're raising capital. So the whole goal is that you're not just talking to them at one point in time when you absolutely need to raise capital. You're building a lasting relationship and educating them at the same time. So I did marketing automation and sales for fast-growing technology companies for almost 2 decades. And all of those skills were 100% transferable to my real estate syndication business, building click funnels, building customer journeys, identifying an avatar, and making sure that that person comes out and says, wow, Whitney, or wow, Megan, you really educated me on this. Now I feel confident making an emotional decision based on 3 rational reasons for why I should invest in your real estate syndication.
Now, we all want our investors to say, wow, right? When they think of us, we want that to be the first thing they think of. Give us some highlights there. Let's dive in. How do you wow them? How do you get them to be thinking wow when they think of Megan?
So some of the things that I do is I tell the stories of impact that we're able to do on a monthly and weekly basis. Again, in the industry, you want to find out whatever your big differentiator is. So for us, it's impact investing in business for good. For you, it might be the way that you're managing your assets, or it might be the types of assets that you're choosing to go after. Whatever that is, you want to play towards your differentiator statements and then really dive into why you're choosing that differentiator and how that is impacting the communities that you're a part of, and tell the story.
Tell the story, how you're different. Yeah, it makes so much sense, right? How do you tell that story? How do you, are you talking to all these investors? How are you getting that story out there?
The easiest way for me is identifying who my avatar is, who I'm primarily going after. And then I create videos, because it's not efficient for me to have 115-minute conversations every single week with new investors. And so I create a series of educational videos that help inform prospects and potential investors on who we are, what we do, how syndications work, and they're getting all of those via email or text message. And then they're booking a call with us to really hone in and answer any unanswered questions.
Okay, so you're trying to answer those questions before you actually have a call with them, right? Yeah, so that phone call is a much more efficient use of time, I'm sure. So tell us, let's back up a little bit. How do you get in front of that investor though?
Yeah, so there's various ways that you can get in front of them. You can get in front of them using lead magnets. You can speak at conferences. You can put social media ads out. You can have paid pay-per-click advertisements. You can be on podcasts like this one. You can volunteer in the community. One of the easiest ways that I've gotten in front of our investors is actually going to charity galas and volunteering at nonprofit organizations. I'm bumping elbows with CEOs all the time. I'm like, why are you here on a Friday morning? What do you do that allows you to have this level of freedom? Or what do you do that allows you to pay, $10,000 per plate to be at this charity gala? Let's figure out a way that we could potentially collaborate.
Nice. All right. And so I want to get into a few of the systems that you use as well. And I'm sure I'll have more questions about your process, but what's some of the software that you use? And how do you automate this? Obviously, the more we can automate it, the better. Like you're talking about getting in front of people, educating them, so we have more productive time, right? What's some of the system and software?
So I use ActiveCampaign because it's super robust and I can manage all of my marketing and sales automation process there in one conjoined platform. I know other people have had great success with HubSpot. We integrate Calendly as well as Zapier, and we also integrate Zoom into all of our meetings. We have Loom, which is the ability to create a simple video that walks through, click here, download this. This is how you sign the PPM to really handle that one-off conversation via email if someone is looking at troubleshooting your software. We also use Investor Deal Room for our syndication platform and managing our deals and managing our investor relations. But all of those systems are only as good as the integrations and your ability to use them. So if you're not using them and having them a part of your daily practice, you really need to sit down and work on your processes first.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We use a lot of the same things, or do a lot of the same things. It seems like, but it can seem very overwhelming in the beginning, right? Especially if you have not heard of these systems before. But ActiveCampaign or HubSpot, or I know when we started with HubSpot, it was like, oh boy, like how do we even get this started? This big thing this big machine here that can do so many things. But the big thing is you got to get started, right? You do have to get started in learning. Give us a couple tips though on learning some of these systems. I think, in the very beginning, you do need Calendly, you do need something like ActiveCampaign. But, did you have somebody helping you? I know you have a background in a lot of this, so, maybe it's not the best question, but how do you advise somebody to really learn some of these systems so they can put them to use?
Yeah. So on every single one of these systems, again, from my tech background, I was very familiar with these. I was Salesforce certified. I was Pardot certified. I worked in Eloqua, which are all really robust systems above and beyond ActiveCampaign and HubSpot for marketing automation. And so they're all basically the same. You're identifying a journey and walking people through that process. But every single one of those platforms has videos on training and interaction and help desk. So instead of stumbling your way through it, use the free resources on those platforms' websites to architect what you need and get the training you need instead of necessarily having to pay a subject matter expert from Upworks or Ferber to go architect this whole thing for you. There's a lot that you can do on your own.
Tell me about your use of virtual assistants, in your capital raising ability.
Yep. So we use virtual assistants for that 15-minute phone conversation. So we have all of the videos of me explaining frequently asked questions, and then our virtual assistants from Thailand or the Philippines or Myanmar or Nepal will hop on a 15-minute phone conversation, screen someone and say, hey, what additional questions do you have? Okay, here's the profile that you've filled out. Let me send you our suitability form to ensure that we're only showing you deals that match what's the best goal that you're going after that's actually suitable for you. So that's one of the ways that I use virtual assistants, is that 15-minute screening. I also use them to manage my social media accounts and interactions. They're in the chat. If you're sending me a message, chances are it's one of my virtual assistants handling that. And then I also use them to manage my sales process. So they're in my email and they're copying and pasting notes every day in ActiveCampaign, copying and pasting notes from social media in ActiveCampaign to make sure everything's in that one centralized repository. So when and if I have to get on the phone with an investor, I'm pulling up our entire archive of all of the team's interaction with them. So I know what motivates them, what their business reason for change was, what their suitability goals were, and how to have a really educated conversation with them.
Okay, a couple of things that I haven't heard of before. It's good stuff. Are you interested in automatically collecting investor commitments and processing distributions? InvestNext offers these features and more, giving you the opportunity to manage your entire portfolio on one institution-grade platform. At LifeBridge Capital, prior to partnering with InvestNext, our team struggled to provide visibility for our investors. We needed the ability to share data on our projects, process payments, and view performance all in one place. Since adopting InvestNext, my team has the tools they need to effectively manage the entire life cycle of each syndication. From capital raising and waterfall calculations to distribution payouts and securely delivering K1s, we have everything we need in one platform. These features give our investors access to all their data in one place. We no longer are wasting time fielding basic investor inquiries about their investment performance. They're able to log in, see all of their documents, view their capital accounts, as well as invest in any current offerings, all from their mobile or desktop browser. If you want to learn more, book a demo at investnext.com and enter the promo code Whitney for 15% off your first 3 months. I mean, they're even copying your social media messages and putting them in ActiveCampaign. Right. Okay, now I've not, so 900 and how many shows did I say? Almost 1,000 shows. I've not heard anyone say that before. So that's unique. But also, even I think bigger than that, I've not heard anyone say that their VAs are doing calls for them like that, screening investors. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of the listeners would say, well, wait a minute, like, don't I have to have that conversation? Or, is their English good enough? Or how is that received by the investor that they're speaking to someone, say in the Philippines, or another country? Just dive into that. Yeah.
So we've paid for really robust training through Closers Media. And then we work with really great virtual.
Say that again. You did training in what was that called?
Closers Media. So Closers Media is a sales education platform that trains any entry-level salesperson or any person who can fog a mirror how to have a solution-based sales approach that solves real business problems or real human needs, and helps walk people through a sales cycle. But the way that we use them is simply to train our virtual assistants, or in the corporate world, they would be called sales development representatives or sales assistants. So we're using them to help architect and translate a lot of the acumen that happens in a professional sales process to people who have no idea what sales or relationship building is. They just know, here's my script, here's the data that this person filled out. How do I blend these together and have an intelligent conversation? When we're hiring, we also make sure that we're hiring people who have English fluency. You'll be surprised how many people can speak English really, really well. And when you give them a script and they're practicing it over and over and over every single day, they sound like rock stars. So that's one side of it. We use Closers Media to help with the sales training. I'm sitting in on team calls, making sure that I'm pouring into our employees as much as I possibly can with my background. But that's step one. And then the other way that we use, your question was, how do we use virtual assistants to help with the sales process? At the end of the call, they're not asking people, do you want to invest? They're simply asking, do you want more information? And can I send you our suitability form? So it's a huge difference. They're purely functioning in the sales assistant role of, okay, I've answered all of your questions to the best of my ability. You've gotten the training material, but do you want more information about investments in general that might be a good fit? And in order for us to give that to you, you need to provide us with the suitability information so we can match that up.
Nice. So what about, I know, if investors ask questions are about, your all's track record or your just experience or anything like that, are they ready to answer those things?
They are. And I've pre-recorded it in the videos that they've gotten already. So I'm Megan Lamke. My husband and I have this business. Here's our track record. This is what we have. This is what we've historically done. They're hearing it from me first. And our virtual assistants, our sales assistants are simply referring people back to that video. Nice.
Okay. So if if an investor signs up, how long until how many videos are they getting? And then and how long is it till they talk to this VA?
Yeah. So we use Calendly. So when someone applies to join our passive investing club, they can choose a time on the Calendly calendar, whoever's open on the team. So it could be as soon as 24 to 48 hours. So we're sending 4 videos that are 2 minutes that say, here's general high level, here's frequently asked questions, this is how passive investing works, and this is how it's different than active investing. Like super simple, I'm sure most people could do this if they architected their business differently. And, I'm about abundance. So the more people that we can have in this industry that are training and educating investors on why real estate syndication is the best thing ever, the easier it'll be for all of us to continue to win.
I know you're not an attorney, so you can say, I'm not an attorney, but I want to ask you anyway. I'm sure if someone's having the question, wait a minute, I thought I had to have that conversation to have that pre-existing relationship.
Great question. So again, they're having a pre-existing relationship with me. I'm using a sales assistant, and I've gone the extra step of getting FINRA and SEC certified, taking several exams to make sure that I could function in this securities space and be registered in all 50 states. And so when you're playing in that type of field, you can have a sales assistant that is not licensed as long as they follow a specific script. They simply ask that if they want more information, and the next step is to give them suitability information. Now, when we're actively capital raising, I pick up the phone and I'm calling all of these people who have been prepped and qualified and are educated on our process and handling the qualified leads. Our virtual assistants and sales assistants simply ask people if they want more information and tell them who we are and what we've done.
No, I like that. And briefly tell the listener, in case they haven't heard of, the licensing things you've been through, just briefly tell them what that is, maybe why you did that.
Yep. So the licensing that you can do to become a licensed securities representative, you can get your Series 63, your Series 82, your SEI exam. You can also take your Series 22 if you wish, instead of the 82. And if you want to be a licensed broker dealer, you can take the principal exam, which is your Series 24. The reason why I did this is because the SEC has cracked down on syndicators. And we went through an audit, and because I was super diligent about our marketing processes and close collaboration with our legal team, we passed with flying colors, but I wanted to be ahead of the game and make sure that I went the extra step. And so that's what we do now, is we make sure that we're having every single investor fill out that suitability form and really getting an understanding of what your goals are, and matching up that with the types of investments that make the most sense.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you explaining that. I'm sure that's new to a lot of listeners, maybe why you would do that. But okay, let's tell me about just how this is viewed from an investor standpoint. I'm sure you've received feedback, or maybe investors you've talked to as they've gone through your process. They've spoken to your virtual assistant. What's their feedback?
So their feedback generally has been, "Wow, Megan, Reggie's really, really informed, or you did an awesome job training Anastasia. She's super efficient, but I want to meet with you." Or I'll get an email saying, "I have a couple of questions for you specifically." And then I say, "Great, let's talk about them when I have an actual deal to use as an example that matches your suitability. Or can you simply send me a quick email and we'll respond as fast as possible." And sometimes people just need that additional interaction between you as the CEO or as the managing partner to solidify that this is a business that's humming and super efficient. The example that I give is, if you called, Amazon, you wouldn't give Jeff Bezos on the phone necessarily. I mean, I know he's stepped down recently, but you wouldn't get Jeff Bezos on the phone. He has hired really great team members to help him. And so I'm essentially functioning in a Jeff Bezos type of role. We have a really great team. We're better together, but I can't be on every single phone call. Otherwise, we won't have strategy and the impact that we have that's so near and dear to the core principles and differentiators in our business.
Okay, so we just have a few minutes left, unfortunately, Megan, but I wanted to ask you just a little more about the marketing automation for the listener who's still just kind of overwhelmed with all the things we listed earlier, even this hiring a virtual assistant, which we've done so many shows on. Personally, I've done so many shows on how to use virtual assistants. And I think this is a great addition. This is really good. Incredible way that you've done this. And congratulations on automating that to just another degree. But somebody that's kind of overwhelmed right now, what's a few things that they could think through to minimize just the overload of, automating it like this, or maybe the few emails they should create, ways to create that trust, that to speed this process up before they're ready to get to the level that you are?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I literally am happy to carbon copy and share everything that we have. Like I said, I function primarily in an abundance mindset. So simply find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share that information. But a couple of things that you can do: get a whiteboard or a bunch of Post-it notes and write down who your avatar is and how you want them to interact with you. And then put those on a wall so that you start to have this funnel of someone came in from social media. Okay, what email do they get? Okay, now how do they interact with us? Or someone listened to us on a podcast. What interaction do they get? What does that look like? How do we customize their journey? And visually seeing that has been one of the most helpful things.
How do you know where they come from?
Well, that's super nerdy, but you can use pixels and tracking devices and webhooks and a whole bunch of different analytics to identify where people are coming from based off of their IP address.
Is there a specific way you get analytics that have been the most helpful to you?
We love using Google Analytics and making sure that we're using webhooks and pixels, and all of those are being fed into our Google Analytics dashboard.
Nice. Do you hire somebody to do that, or you do all that yourself as well?
No, I know how to do all of that myself, and I've trained our virtual assistants on how to manage it.
Nice. Good for you. I have to hire somebody to do all this things because I'm no expert on all the webhooks and pixels and all that stuff. People start talking about that. I'm like, yes, just get it done.
Right.
Whatever that is.
Have the money, give me the results. Yeah.
So what about any daily habits that you have, Megan, that have helped you achieve success?
Daily habits. I practice the miracle morning. So getting up and making sure that I'm working out, practicing gratitude, focusing on visualization and affirmations, and really taking time to read and journal have been paramount to my success. And then I take time every day to either volunteer or do a random act of kindness because it helps me stay focused on things that are bigger than myself. Something as simple as buying Starbucks for somebody behind me in line.
Awesome. Love that way of thinking. What's your best source for meeting new investors?
Best source for meeting new investors is attending charity galas. Hands down, people that have discretionary income and want to make an impact are our ideal avatar. So I know it's a pay to play environment when you're going to that caliber of event, but that's been the best source of investors for us.
How do you get involved in something like that?
Start volunteering. So you volunteer to be on the gala committee, or you volunteer to help with fundraising. And you can only really do those volunteer aspects if you have time freedom, or if you decide to overload yourself and stretch yourself too thin. So, but yeah, simply volunteering. So find organizations that you care about locally and start showing up for them.
Number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Number one thing that's contributed to my success has been mindset and keeping focused on our purpose and our why behind everything that we're doing.
Nice. For sure. What about, and I ask every guest this, and we've talked about it quite a bit already, but just how you like to give back. And is there anything specifically, I know you're passionate about numerous things and you've shared many ways about giving back, but what's maybe one specific thing you're very passionate about?
One specific thing that I'm really passionate about is providing Ramsey Plus and Financial Peace University to every single one of our tenants as an amenity, because it's the same platform that changed my husband's and my life. It's how we got out of debt. It's how we have financial freedom now. So we provide that as a free amenity. If our tenants choose to take us up on it, great. But we've really loved that interaction and ability to, in 2020, provide hope when there wasn't necessarily a lot of hope with all of the job uncertainty.
Incredible. So how do you provide that to them, by the way?
Yeah. So for Ramsey Plus, it's just a simple amenity. We've bought, they have solutions where you can buy a license for your church, and we chose to buy a Ramsey Plus license for every single apartment complex. And so when someone comes in for leasing or appointment, we say, hey, we have this branded, it's secular and universal, because we've worked with the Ramsey team to make sure that we're also adhering to equal housing and all of the jurisdiction there. And we say, if you want it, here it is. Here's your coupon code. You can download the free app and start managing your budget. But it's at point of signing the lease agreement.
Incredible. Love that. Love that. Just that's new as well. I've not heard of anyone else that's doing that. Yeah. Megan, pleasure to get to catch up with you again, and just your willingness to share, with the listeners and myself. We've done, so many shows about capital raising, and you've listed many things I've not heard anyone else doing. So congratulations to you. You are laying some foundation here for a lot of us, in improving our processes and systems and automating. And it's so important if you're going to scale, you got to automate things, right? And so just grateful for your time. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah. So the easiest way to get in touch with me is go to my website, Megan, MEGANLAMKE.com/connect. You can connect with me that way. I'm on LinkedIn. And then we also wrote a free ebook for all of your listeners, Whitney. All of the questions that I was super embarrassed to ask early on in the syndication career, because I was the only woman in the room. So if you want that free ebook with all of my questions and answers, it's The Leader's Guide to Investing, meganlamke.com/grit.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.